You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Rob, do you ever get cranky when you're hungry?
Isn't that what they call
Hangry.
Hanger?
Hanger.
I do get hangry.
Well, guys.
Especially when I'm flying.
Yeah, well, me too. Normally, I'm so focused on the job at hand. I'm so focused on the equipment. I don't want to lose equipment, which I've been very good at in the last couple weeks. So I've really got to make sure that I am focused.
Not touching that.
Yeah, please don't. And one thing that helps me stay focused, one thing that really helps me feel fulfilled but tastes good and it makes me feel good is Charki. Charki is a premium lamb jerky. It's not a beef jerky, it's a lamb jerky, which means it's higher in protein, has less fat, less carbs, and it's really good for you. They use this old Peruvian Incan style to produce this jerky. So it's not mass produced. They don't use harsh chemicals and nitrates and whatnot, so you don't have that chemical taste. It's just really good. And that's why we let them advertise here, because they're some of our good, dear friends. Make sure to check them out, charki.love. You can get Charki on Amazon and nowhere else because it's that good. Also, special thanks to our friends at unmannedsas.com/drone-u. Because if you crash your drone and it's sitting on the shelf collecting dust, you can change that in just about 2 weeks if you send it to unmannedsas.com/drone-u. For $29.95, they're going to send you a shipping label, so shipping is taken care of. They're going to diagnose your drone, that's taken care of. And if you elect to get it fixed with them, guess what? They're going to give you $20 back towards fixing your drone. Seems like a pretty good deal to me, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if your drone just isn't working, right? It doesn't have to be a crash. Maybe you don't know why it's not working.
If you don't want to admit that you crashed, that's okay too.
That is not what I'm saying, but sure, that's fine.
Anyway, make sure to check them out, guys. unmannedsas.com/drone-u. All right, guys. Well, welcome to a very important show today. Why is this a very important show? You're going to hear step by step how I built a business with a Phantom. Just a Phantom, one camera, built a business. The business you're seeing today. And today's question comes from, I don't know, in the surfing industry, we call them little groms,
Oh, really?
Because they're like little surfing kids,
Yeah.
like a little grom. But these little kids came to our office. They just had to meet Rob and myself, and I will never forget the look when they first saw Rob in the meeting room, like,
I think it was
Rob?
Paul. They were really excited to see.
Is that him? Really?
It was fun. It was really a pleasure, and it was humbling that they would come all their way out of their way just to come say hi to us. That was very, very cool.
It was, and they put together a question which I think is not only pertinent to them, but also very pertinent to all of you out there who may not have a job, who may not have a lot of income. You want to start a business and you're wondering how to get started, and I think this podcast is the one you need to hear.
Hey guys, my name is Kyle and I'm 13 years old and I'm looking to start a drone business and I'm looking to jump the gun from, instead of jumping from the 9-to-5 to the drone life, starting in the drone life. But I realize that most of your videos are about jumping from the 9-to-5 to the drone life, and I was wondering if you have any hints for someone that may not have as much income as the average person. And I do have a Phantom 3 standard, and I'm soon looking forward to upgrading to the Phantom 4 Pro. I thank you guys for the podcast. It's really great. And I'm looking to stop by the Drone U headquarters in Albuquerque for a lesson. Thank you guys.
So, first of all, 13 years old. How awesome.
Yeah, I know, Kyle, you're going places, buddy.
Yeah,
you're
you
going
are.
to be fine.
Also, guys, the way I want to answer this question today is I'm going to talk about mindset, because I noticed that so many people in this industry have the employee mindset. They don't really understand how you have to really rewire your brain and how you think about business. And I talk about this in our book, that you have to have the owner mentality and that you can't have the client or member mentality, which is there's a problem, you fix it. The owner mentality is there's a problem, I have to find a solution. And before I go into exactly how I built my business, you have to understand, if you are starting with very little, if you are starting or you're leaving your job, which, by the way, I never left a job. My old business failed. I mean, I don't know how to say that other than it failed. The party trolley failed. And it was probably one of the best lessons I've ever learned.
The path to success is often wrought with failures. That's where you learn the greatest lessons. It's true.
Wasn't it Michael Jordan who failed like 15 times or something and still ended up making it into the NBA and still ended up becoming one of the greatest basketball players of all time? I mean, it just goes to show that tenacity and persistence are the key to business, which is why I bring up this point. If you're starting a business from scratch, you're not in the 9-to-5, you have very little money, you need to ask yourself one question. Am I going to do everything I possibly can to make this work?
And be honest with yourself. Like, don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
You can lie to other people, but don't lie to yourself. It's not going to do you any good.
It's really not going to do you any good. And if you can't answer that question with a solid yes, that I'm going to go out and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that this business is successful, don't get started. Don't get started, because there are going to be days where you're going to be like, I could just have a regular paycheck and I could just, work in an office. Guys, there are so many benefits to living the drone life, to having your own business. It's the freedom to travel. It's the freedom to be able to do what you want. You don't have to really listen to anyone, but you'll soon find that you will become a slave to your own responsibility. For me, I used to goof off a lot. I used to be like, oh, wow, it's so nice to have all these days that are free and I can do whatever I want. And now my mentality has changed where I have so much going on. If I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm being irresponsible and I'm not really taking care of my business. So when I first got into it, I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of question in my mind whether it was really possible. But being here now, 4 years later, I can tell you it is possible. I can tell you that I started living with my friend. My rent was like $400 a month, really maybe $200 more in bills on top of that. And I started with a Phantom. And I started with something that I knew other people had much better drones. But if I could hone the skill, if I could hone the patience and the focus to be a better, smoother pilot, to come up with more complex motions than other people, to get more dynamic range in my shots while having the utmost steady hands, I knew that I would have a competitive advantage over everyone else. And what's that?
I was going to say, so you flew a lot, obviously, and you worked on your craft.
Every day.
But I would also say that you were studious. I mean, you read about the industry, you read about drones, and you learned about how they worked. It wasn't just about flying.
Yep. And I even got a academic certificate. I don't even know if it's worth anything. They say it's associate's degree or likewise, but
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You learned, and you learned a lot from that process.
Yeah, I learned the technical aspects of that and none of the practical aspects. But anyway, that being said, I went out with my Phantom. I reached out to a bunch of realtors. I did a lot of jobs for free. It soon morphed into doing jobs really cheap, and then slowly increasing my mindset that, hey, I am worth more than, $100 a day. In fact, Sarah, just the other day, she's sitting there and she's like, I just broke down my salary or my job and I make $100 a day. I make $100 a day. And she's like, there are times I see you come home and you made 10 grand in one day.
So she did a nice job hooking up with you. Oh, wait, that's not the point you're making? That's
not the point I'm making.
Oh, my bad. Okay, carry on.
Good one. And she's just like, I believe I'm worth more. And I told Sarah, I said, I think you're worth more than me. You're so organized. You're always willing to help people, and you're full of compassion, and you go out of your way to make sure things are right. That's what everyone looks for in a salesman, someone they can trust, someone that they know will do what they say. And you've got to be that person. If you go out with a Phantom and you do your pre-flight checks every single time, you make sure your SD card is clear, you check in your white balance, you're making sure that your exposure value is set properly, you're making sure your color is set properly, you film as much as you can where every single motion is a cinematic motion in every single battery that you fly for whatever you're flying, and you go back and you watch that footage, and if it's not perfect, you go back out to that house and you get the right footage. Because the only thing that is going to be your bread and butter is the smoothness of your footage, that buttery smooth footage I talked about. No one can argue with that.
And by the way, on that point, the vast majority of people will not go back.
No.
I mean, 95+% will not go back.
No, and you've got to build your business on relationships, guys. It's, oh man, it has taken me really until last year to really realize that businesses are built on relationships.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
It's true.
It's very difficult with me being a part of Drone U and this podcast and having my own drone business, maintaining the relationships that I have in the drone community, but it's so imperative and it's so key because at the end of the day, I have so much fun and I've created so many good memories with the guys out in the industry. I mean, how else would I know Daniel Herbert if he hadn't come out on a boat with us in Las Vegas, Nevada during a random, conference? How would I know half the guys like Alex Wright, DJI executive? How would I know a lot of the people that are in this community, like John McBride? He's one of my absolute favorite guys to hang out with in the drone industry. You wouldn't have these experiences, these memories, these good times, the things that make you love living the drone life if it weren't for relationships.
It's interesting because as you talk about relationships, I think a lot of people ultimately think about making relationships with people that could ultimately be clients. And while that's true, I also hear you talking about having relationships with people that are in the industry, that are like-minded, that are pursuing the same goals. And so I think that's a really important point for Kyle and other people like him. Be involved with like-minded people who have your same dreams, and you guys are going to help each other achieve those dreams.
Yeah.
And I would say that's true for you and a lot of the guys that you're talking about hanging out with and getting to know real well and having a long-standing relationship with.
Yeah.
You're all kind of really enthusiastic and excited and passionate about the industry and making it awesome.
No, I think you're so right. I also think it's one reason that Drone U is so powerful. I mean, shameless plug here. But guys, there's one thing that Drone U as a drone school has that no other school has, and it's the community. Yeah. And these people motivate you and they inspire you because, guys, running your own business is not easy. There are days where you wake up and you piss excellence. And there are days that you wake up and you don't want to move. Okay?
I was wondering what the other side of that was going to be. So
I decided to keep it super clean. There are days where even making a cup of coffee is a chore, and
juvenile.
You having the community, having those relationships. And for Kyle, who asked this question, get a business mentor, because having a business mentor, having someone that can teach you from experience, who's already made the mistakes, oh man, is that so valuable.
Absolutely.
In fact, it makes me want to start an online business where we can just match mentors to businesses and then somehow give them a stake in the business. Anyway, I got business ideas at the wazoo. But here's the idea, guys. Relationships. Make sure before you start your business, you structure everything. Go to sba.gov, make sure you look at the business plan and you have an answer for every single question. Then play devil's advocate. How can someone be better at this than me? Have you ever created a business canvas? Do you know what a business canvas is? A business canvas is a one-page document that showcases what your service is, what your competitive advantage is, what your unfair competitive advantage is, and how you plan to overtake the market that you're going into. Now for Kyle can make friends with realtors. He's really young, but if he can practice, I think that's great. He can't go commercial until he's 16, but there's nothing stopping him from going out and getting the practice that he wants and he needs.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about Kyle's position is that he can start thinking about these things and even looking for a mentor and maybe meeting people at different flying events or whatever, but just fly.
Yeah.
And work on, by the time you're 16, there could be nobody better at that age or even close to that age because you've been practicing for so long.
So true. So just to really recap this, number one, you've got to shift your mentality. You've got to think about life without having a steady paycheck. You've got to become okay with that. If you're not okay with that, what system are you going to use to constantly gather business? How are you going to get a business mentor and get good advice for building your business? Are you going to go to sba.gov and make sure that you outline each individual section of that business? How are you going to answer the difficult questions? If you can't answer the difficult questions, don't run the business. The next thing is making yourself believe that you're worth more than you are, because you are. Do not be the undercharger. You don't need to undercut people. If you build relationships, they will see the value in you. If you just try to undercut, you can do that, but you're going to be drained, overworked, and unhappy in a couple of years. So don't do that.
True.
The next thing after that is going out and making these relationships with realtors, getting to practice and honing your skill. And then finally, it's going out there. And for him, when he's 16, selling himself, because I see no better opportunity for him if he's 16 in high school and shooting real estate, after school is over. It's the perfect thing because he gets out of school 3, 4 o'clock, sun sets 5, 6, in the summer, 7, 8.
Yeah, while your buddies are going to work at the mall or at fast food joints, you're going and flying.
While they're flipping burgers, you're flipping cameras. Up, down, picture. And then you get to sit there and be like, man, this is the life. You guys got to remember, and especially for Kyle, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but the lifestyle that is, how do I say this, dictated towards you in school about going to college, and then getting a job, that's not going to make you happy. Trust me. What's going to make you happy is going to school, going to college, and creating your own job. It is creating your own business. And I think that way you'll be truly happy. It'll be the most difficult thing you can do. But understand, if success were easy, everyone would be successful. Everyone would be successful. A lot of people are probably saying out there too, well, Paul, I don't have the resources for this. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have, I don't have the social skills. And I say BS. I say It's not about having resources.
Then overcome.
It's about being resourceful.
Right.
Because if you're out there on the forums, if you're listening to people, if you're interacting with other people, and you can't afford to buy a drone, but you use Amazon affiliates to slowly link other products to other people and slowly build up money on Amazon, and after half a year, you're probably going to have the money to buy a drone scot-free on Amazon from your Amazon affiliates. That's being resourceful. And then the next step is, if you can't afford a camera, or you're having trouble getting out to other realtors, why aren't you just sending out cupcakes? I know you may not have the money to send out cupcakes, so why not make a phone call?
Well, we've met Kyle's mom. I bet she'll help him make some cupcakes.
I think she would too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to say, guys, it is all about how hard you are willing to work, because you can make up excuses all day long. What's really going to be important is what is going to make you live the drone life. It's not going to be easy, but what's going to be your motivation? What's going to be your inspiration? You may find those things in the Drone U community, but I'm going to leave that there today. I have built a very successful business on just a Phantom. And yes, now I have 8 or 9 drones, whatever. But the fact of the matter is if you are driven, focused, and organized, you can make whatever life you want. I'm going to leave it at that.
Hear, hear. Very well said. I hope you're enthused. I hope you're excited. Kyle, I hope you're ready to get going. I think you are.
I think so too.
And we look forward to seeing you progress and seeing all of you guys progress. And
definitely.
We love to hear from you. We love to hear how the podcast has helped you. We love to hear the progress that you're making and the successes that you're having. Share those with us. It's why we do this. It makes this so much fun when we hear from you guys.
It totally does, guys. It totally does. You are the reason we are here, and we want to grow this community and grow the freedoms to fly with you. So make sure you share this podcast, give it a review. That is going to do it for us today. My name is Paul.
My name is Rob.
This is Ask Drone U.